what I think's really, really interesting, wait for it, was this piece. You haven't read this yet, Jen.
Oh boy, I'm excited.
Politico did a piece
I sent this to you.
Oh, okay. That happens all the time where
Yeah.
I
He's
send
like, look what I found.
No, I send my girlfriend like, "Did you see this?" And she's like, "Oh, I sent it to you." I'm like, "Oh." So, this is interesting cuz Politico did a piece on Warren and Hillary Clinton's basically like 2-3 year negotiation before Hillary ran. So Warren was basically making demands of Hillary's campaign like in 2014 and 2015. So obviously Warren knew Hillary was running, and Hillary's people were trying to satisfy Warren to try and stop her from running. Mm-hmm. Hillary Clinton's people wanted Warren not to run. So part of the article was about Warren's decision not to endorse Bernie Sanders.
Yes.
So I thought this was interesting.
Yep.
As Sanders' campaign took off in early 2016, Warren felt pressure building from both Sanders and Clinton to endorse. Ideologically, she was much closer to the Vermont senator, but there was skepticism within Warren's orbit that he could actually pull it off, and that endorsing him would diminish her ability to influence Clinton.
Ugh.
Sanders, who is usually reluctant to ask for endorsements or get immersed in transactional politics, did make a personal hard sell in early 2016 as the primary raged on. At a private hangar at Dulles International Airport, Sanders took a cell phone and paced around privately while talking to Warren, remembers one aide. Some Sanders senior staffers were thrilled she had stayed neutral, while others felt victory would be in sight if Warren would throw her weight behind the senator. At the end of the long conversation, Warren still declined to endorse Sanders. From the other side, John Podesta, repeatedly called and urged Warren to endorse Clinton to help bring the primary fight to an earlier end. Quote, I think her view was that if she was respectful and waited, that she'd be more useful in bringing Bernie supporters to Hillary. I always thought that was overthinking it. One former Clinton advisor characterized Warren's move as part of a larger strategy to avoid alienating the left, while also maintaining her relationships with the Clinton team that she thought was likely to win. She stayed neutral, but she made sure she had influence with the nominee, so she and her advisors had a seat at the table in a real way.
Just stomach turning.
What are your thoughts before I rage?
Well, I obviously I in that article found the part about Bernie most enlightening, because you have this picture painted, of the aide saying he's walking around this airplane hangar trying to get Warren's endorsement, and then you have obviously John Podesta on the other team. And to me, if you're a true progressive, that's not even a choice. And sure, she had her apparent reasons, which were listed there in the article, of not wanting to alienate progressives and Bernie voters and having a better chance of bringing them over to Hillary if it came down to it. But in the end, she didn't believe it was so politically calculated. I mean, as politicians are, to say, I don't know if Bernie has a chance, so I'm not going to endorse. But that's part of our political process. I mean, if you truly have convictions and there's a candidate who's actually doing really, really well and who's shocked everyone, and you still can't get behind that candidate, and you still can't endorse based on policy, based on your actual principles and convictions, to me, that means you're just in it for politics and in it for personally getting ahead. And I do think that Warren cares a lot about reforming the banks, and she has her niche areas. Niche might be the wrong word, but she has her things that she really, really cares about, things that she's a lot floppier on, like Medicare for All. She doesn't have convictions when it comes to Medicare for All. She's willing to be politically calculating in those ways, and she didn't care enough about it to endorse to endorse Bernie in 2016. And the fact that she was kind of making these deals or like this list of demands for Hillary and like playing to Hillary, I just find scummy. I mean, it's expected in politics. To me, it just means, when people say Bernie and Warren are the same thing. No, absolutely not. There's absolutely not.
So, a couple things. I mean, I didn't read the whole article to you, but there is part of the article that I just want to be fair to her, because we try to be fair. Some of it is, at least from a progressive point of view, her trying to... Some of it was her trying before Bernie even announced, before Bernie got in. Some of it is her talking to Clinton's campaign and making demands for them basically to appoint people to Clinton's campaign and then cabinet that basically not the scum that Obama had in his. So not, and Clinton had. So not Larry Summers, Robert Rubin, all these Goldman Sachs, Wall Street people that were littered in Bill Clinton's administration and Obama's administration. So some of it, again, before Bernie got in, was Warren's people sending Clinton's team lists of people that should be in the campaign, Hillary's campaign, lists of people that should be in Hillary's transition team. Again, she was assuming Hillary was going to win. Why I think so, somewhat credit to her that, like, it's not like she was reaching out to Hillary like, hey, you should pick, you know, I don't know, Stephen Moore, Trump's, like,
oh my God.
economist.
Yeah.
But a few things. Number one, to me, that shows a naivete about Elizabeth Warren. If Elizabeth Warren truly thought that Hillary Clinton was actually going to honor anything that they made deals with before she won the presidency, then she needs to go back to the political school of hard knocks.
Well, we can't even really analyze this without talking about the fact that they were in pretty deep VP discussions.
I don't know about pretty deep.
They were. I really think they were.
I don't.
The reporting shows that.
She was considered. They weren't, like, in deep discussion about it.
They had discussions. So maybe we just have a different...
No, but I'm talking about before Bernie announced, early. Like, before Bernie announced whatever. Like, Warren and her people sending lists to Hillary Clinton and, like, sending lists of who she should put in her campaign. The don't list on who you shouldn't have in your cabinet. Like, that's naivete to think that... Like, the Clintons are legendary in Washington for shanking you in the front and the back. They honor people who are loyal to them. But people who are loyal to them are greedy neoliberal scum.
The others end up dead in their cars.
So the point is, for Elizabeth Warren and her people to think like, oh, if we send them lists, like they'll follow through on it. No, they were going to use you and then spit you out and surround themselves with the same crooks that Obama did. So that's one. She was naive. But number two, to me, I want to contrast Elizabeth Warren right now with Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez.
Yes, yeah.
Because to me, Elizabeth Warren, for example, it is the Hillary Clinton of this scenario, and Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is the Elizabeth Warren. Mm-hmm. So Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez could have said, at the time that she endorsed Bernie, Elizabeth Warren was ahead of Bernie in the polls. Elizabeth Warren, in some national polls, was leading Joe Biden. So when Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez endorsed Bernie, by the way, called him the day he had a heart attack, while he was in the hospital, and said, I'm going to endorse you, it did not look good for Bernie Sanders. It looked, at that time, politically like possibly...
Yeah, we were, yeah.
Politically, not legitimately, like politically fatal, you know? And Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez could have read the room and said, you know what? Obviously, Warren's going to be the nominee. She's got all the momentum. Bernie's not looking good. He might drop out. Warren will pick up Bernie's voters, and I'm going to go with the winning horse here.
Yeah, I really, my respect for AOC was pretty high. But when she endorsed Bernie against what was going on and, when he had his heart attack, my view of her shot way up, because she has conviction. She has things that she's truly fighting for. And she did the right thing. She did what was, on her heart. And she didn't do the political backstabby thing.
Right. And you know what? Like, to me, Elizabeth Warren, this is the part I don't understand. Elizabeth Warren could have endorsed Bernie Sanders because in her heart, that's what it was. Does she not think if she endorsed Bernie Sanders and Bernie Sanders then lost, that the Clintons wouldn't come groveling at her feet? She still had leverage because the Clintons would have still needed her to endorse her.
Right.
Elizabeth Warren could have said, well, I'm gonna let the process play out. She could have even waited into the general election to endorse her. She could have.
Yeah.
So, like, to me, listen, my former colleague at TYT, we debated it when I was there, but Emma Vigeland was like, oh, what a crime. She's a politician. It's not a crime, but it just shows you she's not anything special. She's not anything that is something you might only get once a generation. She's not anything that is truly, authentically pure. That doesn't make her an awful person. It just means, how could you trust what she's going to do if she's elected president? I've pissed off a lot of people by just simply saying, listen, if she's the nominee, I would vote for her. Some people think she's as bad as Hillary Clinton. I don't. I don't think she's going to be the nominee, but I said it because I think, we can't be so crazy. What's the phrase?
Yeah, I know what you're saying.
The bottom line is you can't give Donald Trump 4 more years. If you give him 4 more years, there might not be a planet. So Elizabeth Warren, she's not Bernie, but if she were the nominee, do I think she'd be as bad as Donald Trump? Of course not. At least for the planet,
silly.
She'd be better. But my point is, I don't think she could be the nominee, but that's why I never understood these people trying to make it seem like, oh, Bernie and her are pretty much the same, and she's younger and a woman. So they're not even in the same universe politically. And on foreign policy, we haven't even gotten into that.
Right.
So, yeah.
Warren, and to me, a lot of the stuff with progressives and Warren, I remember a lot of people saying, oh, we wish Warren, Warren seems great. A lot of Bernie people were liked Warren, liked what she was doing. It started, the big thing for me, in addition to not endorsing Bernie, was that she didn't acknowledge Standing Rock. As a Native American, no, I'm just kidding. She should have, and that kind of painted a picture for me that's still playing out today in her actions and the things that she does.
Hope you enjoyed that last video. Hop on over to statuscoup.com where you can sign up for our email list and become a member for as low as $5 to $10 a month. Membership is how we grow. That's statuscoup.com/join. And remember, join our email list so we can grow the revolution with you.